What's up guys, my name is Your Heroes and welcome back to more Gates of Hell. Now if you haven't checked out my last video regarding the new possible faction release, it is actually not possible, it is very factual of what faction is, then make sure to check out the last video, Development 150, which tells you everything you need to know about the new faction that's coming out and everything about mostly about the single player campaign coming to the Airborne DLC. So check that out in the link down below on the top right hand of the screen right now. But today we are going to be talking about the special announcement, and it is very exciting news about the release date for the Airborne DLC. Yes, finally Gatesville has got a release date for Gatesville, and it's quite convenient that when this was released on Tuesday 17th of September, because that was the actual date of the 80th anniversary of when Operation Market Garden was actually done. So it says, yeah, 80 years ago today, which was on the Tuesday 17th of September, but I am recording this on the 18th, that it is 80 years ago exactly that Operation Market Garden started. So the fact that they're announcing it or the release date on the anniversary of when Market Garden happened, it fits in really well, and I do like that. So big thumbs up to Gatesville. And if you guys want to know more news information about Gatesville, about the Airborne DLC, and also one of the main other topics we're going to be talking about is about the next faction, then make sure you stay tuned to the channel, as I will be uploading everything you need to know about the Airborne DLC and the next faction that's coming up to Gates of Hell. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So there are different topics about talking about the 80 years of Operation Market Garden, the aftermath of what happened after Operation Market Garden, and then the remembrance of it, and then lastly, and then the Airborne release date, which I've just completely clicked on the wrong thing, and then as you can see here, the next faction. So all that's to come right now, stay tuned. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So it says, hopefully my face is not covering, it says community members, exactly 80 years ago today, which was yesterday, Operation Market Garden started. To commemorate this iconic operation, we will announce the planned release date for Gatesville Call to Arms Airborne DLC. We also take a look at the historical background of what at the time was the biggest airborne operation in history. So let's start off with 80 years. So on September 17th, 1944, Operation Market Garden got underway. Expectations were high. If this operation would achieve its goals, it was more or less generally assumed that the war would be over soon, maybe even before Christmas. As it turned out, that was not to be. A number of setbacks, such as the presence of the 9th and 10th SS Panzer Division, which actually one of you commented in the previous video about this, so thank you for that. British fled, field radios not working, and the distance between Arnhem drop zones and the bridges contributed to the failure to capture the Rhine Bridge. Ever since, there's been a lot of debate. Was Market Garden a success or a failure? Bernard Montgomery, who had proposed the operation, called it a 90% success. So that means 10% of it was going to fail, and unfortunately that 10% did fail. However, since the key bridges at Arnhem, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, was not taken, the Rhine still formed a formidable defence line for the Germans. When the operation was called off, the chance to end the war by Christmas was definitely gone, which is a shame because this was in 1944. So if that technically operation was correct, then the war could have ended in 1944 and not 1945. But then again, I could be completely talking out my backside as I usually do. But I think that if this operation was 90% successful as it should have been, then the war should have been over in 1944, not 1945. And you can see the cool historic picture here of the Airborne dropping in the section here. And actually, also another cool thing is that one of you commented, and also the last video, Dev Diary 150, is that one of your, I think, granddads or grandpa was actually in the Operation Market Garden. He was, I think, one of the airborne units, which was really cool to see. So I've put a wee comment just letting know, just thank you for our service, and I'm sure he's a veteran legend, and you know, appreciate all the work he did during the wartime. So big shout out to you, my friend, and your grandpa or your granddad. So now going on to Aftermath. So that what's happened like during the war, and it's awesome to see that Gatesville has kind of, you know, gone into a wee bit of history about how what happened during the events and how it should have been a success, but actually how it wasn't, and why it wasn't a success. So that is really cool to see. So now let's go into the aftermath. What happened after, you know, Market Garden? So the consequences of Market Garden were severe. Even the British Paras had been evacuated from the Arnhem Arena. The corridor around Hell's Highway was still hotly contested. Fighting continued without pause for weeks. Arnhem itself was looted bare and set on fire by the Germans during the battle, and it remained a ghost town until the end of the war. The Germans also halted river traffic from the agricultural East Netherlands to the West Netherlands, which caused a famine that cost lives of an estimated 20,000 Dutch citizens during the following winter. That is absolutely insane. That is really sad to hear about how that happened, and of course, you know, the Dutch and the Germans have a you know, a query with each other even today's time during what happened, and that absolutely makes sense. I mean, no wonder the freaking Dutch hate Germans and everybody actually hating Germans. It's a joke. Take the joke. Okay, I'm joking, all right? It's, you know, it's in the past, but you get what I mean. The supplies for the operation had to be replenished by road all the way from Normandy. Because the British hadn't captured the north side of the Schlicht in Estuary, the port of Antwerp, which is Belgium, was no use to the Allies yet. The criticism of General Montgomery's strategy was mainly about the fact that Schlicht Estuary should have been taken before considering an operation like Market Garden to ensure much better supply situation. That's really interesting to hear. That is actually quite an interesting strategy, and you know what, if that strategy did go through, maybe Operation Market Garden probably could have been a success, you know, that 90% success. But because he kind of looked at it before Operation Market Garden, and he kind of knew that Operation Market Garden was kind of going to be a fail then, even before it started, which is quite interesting to see. So do you think that Montgomery should have maybe put in strategies or supplies before starting the actual operation, which is interesting, but I see why that's going to happen. And you can see here, these look like the supplies of possibly the American troops, you know, carrying jeeps and AT guns with camo. That looks like a 7, I'm not even going to try to guess the AT gun, because a lot of you will just slaughter me for getting it wrong. So if anybody knows the AT gun, down below you will get a pinned comment, you know, for naming the AT gun. So anybody below, comment down below what this AT gun is, and you'll get a wee pinned comment. Cool. Now going on to the remembrance side. The paratroopers involved had all gone above and beyond the normal Call of Duty and had suffered several casualties. For instance, the 2nd Airborne took horrendous casualties when crossing Wal River at Nijmegen. I hate that word. You Gatesville's actually just crucifying me for this. At the location they chose to cross a river, a mountain was erected to commemorate the heroics, as you may remember from our previous blog, which is 150. Go check that out in the link down below. The Market Garden paratroopers are all considered real heroes by the population of the Netherlands. Every year in September, all of them are invited to join a veterans parade where the Dutch people honour the veterans and remember the fallen. That is actually, I didn't know that as well, because I actually went to Netherlands on a wee holiday earlier on this year, and if I go in like September, which is actually just now in September, then you might see a parade. If anybody is in the Netherlands or living in the Netherlands just now and watching this video, tell me if this is true. Tell me if this is actually what you see, and if it is, and you know, put it on Facebook or put it on social media, record it, put it as a post on social media. It'd be really cool to see what that's like. And you can see some positions here that looks like an American soldier using a one of these I'm gonna call it an AT rifle. I know it's not AT rifle, it's one of these grenade. I'm actually, just to piss people off, I'm calling it a grenade launcher from World War II. There you go. Excellent bit. It's just World War II style. Excellent. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the bit that everybody's been waiting for is the release date for Gatesville. With all the history and heroics of these airborne troops in mind, today is a perfect day to announce the release date for Gatesville. Yesterday, by the way. Airborne. If you want to relive some of the most brutal and iconic battle of the US 82nd 101st Airborne Division, you can do it from October 17th. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Airborne is going to be released on October the 17th, 2024. So make sure you've got it wishlisted and make sure it is there, because once you've wishlisted it, you'll get a notification that Gatesville Airborne DLC will be released on October the 17th. Put it in your calendars, because I definitely am. Obviously, there's more to the Airborne DLC than Operation Market Garden. In fact, it starts in Normandy. After Operation Market Garden, it takes you through the Battle of the Bulge and into Germany proper. If you haven't yet wishlist Airborne today. So there you go, guys. Yeah, that is when Airborne DLC will release, October 17th. That is great to hear. I had a feeling it would either be at the end of this month, early into the next month, but looks like now we get to see that it's now going into the kind of middle, late of October, which is really cool to see. And also, another really exciting news is the next faction. So meanwhile, as we announced in a previous blog, we announced developing content for the British Commonwealth. This DLC, the name of which will be announced shortly, will contain Western Front action. After released Airborne, we will show more. So the Western Front, would that still be Normandy? I think. I hope I'm getting that right. Again, a lot of you might butcher me for getting that wrong, but I'm pretty sure we'll maybe see some action on Normandy as well, hopefully with the British. And maybe we'll see, hopefully, actually, it looks like there'll be no North Africa campaign, because I think the British did take part in a North African or an African campaign. So it looks like the Gatesville have not actually announced if there'll be an African campaign, which I hope there will as part of the DLC, because that'd be really cool. But just now, it'll just contain the Western Front action, which is kind of a shame, because we kind of already have a Western Front of the America, so we already know what that's like. So it would have been really cool to see the British side, but in the North Africa stage where they're fighting, I think, is it the Italians? Although, and the Germans, again, I'm going to get butchered if I get this wrong. This development is in the hands of one part of the team, while the other part is at work to improve the game and chase bugs as usual. Brilliant. We always schedule new DLCs to follow non-faction DLCs like Airborne. That has been our method from the very moment we released Ostfront in 2021. So that's quite interesting. That's something kind of caught me off guard, is that, I mean, I do see it now that with all releases, the first started off with the Talvasota DLC, which introduced, I think, was it Finland, I think, and then it was like a non-faction DLC, and I might be getting this wrong top of my head, and then there was like and then there was a gap again. I actually just completely forgot there how my brain just worked there for a second. I don't know what the hell that I just meant, but yeah, I can kind of see the pattern of it now. So the next DLC will be a faction DLC, which will be British, and then after that it'll be a non-faction DLC, which might be, you know, another adding some more units in a campaign, kind of like how Airborne is done. So I kind of like the idea of this. You can see some nice buildings here. And then, did you know, lastly, Airborne will contain voice cameos from a handful of YouTube content creators. By the way, that's not me. I've not actually been shouted out, you know, for any voice cameos. Hopefully, maybe they'll ask me to do a British voiceover. Hopefully, if they have any Scottish units in there, please Gatesville, give me a shout. That'd be really cool. And then it will also contain voice acting and narration from modern day veterans. That is actually amazing to hear. So proper veterans during the time of the war are doing voiceovers, which I'm really excited to see, and I will review them in the game when the DLC does come out. And lastly, the British Commonwealth DLC has already been in development for nearly a year. That is insane. So they've been hiding it from us for a year. I mean, we kind of knew tips and tricks. We kind of knew hints of what the next faction DLC could be. A lot of it started off with different factions like Japan, Italy, Poland. And then when someone said Britain, everyone just said in the community, oh, Britain, 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 Britain. So yes, I think kind of we knew from early this year that it would be Britain, but we weren't 100% sure. But now that it's been confirmed, that's really cool. That's it for now. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you in the battlefield. So there you go, guys. That is the release date of Gates of Hell Airborne DLC, which will be released October 17th, and some news on the new British faction, which I think will be probably released end of the year, maybe into early next year, I'm guessing, but I've been wrong with my guess with Airborne, so it might come out earlier, maybe possibly November, but possibly December, I'm thinking, into early next year. But on that, guys, that is it for today. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and we're trying to get to 3k before the end of the year. That would be absolutely great. But thank you so much for watching, and Ostfront, and I will see you in the next video. See you later, and goodbye.